On the evening of August 20th, 1989, José Menendez and Mary Louise Anderson were both found dead in their Beverly Hills mansion. Both of them suffered multiple shotgun wounds, rendering them almost unidentifiable. While the investigation into their deaths were ongoing, their sons Lyle and Erik Menendez were extravagantly splurging on luxury items, businesses, and vacations, blowing over $700,000. The police finally put two and two together and arrested the two brothers, and this would be one of the most sensationalized trials in recent history. Welcome to History's Biggest Villains. Lyle and Erik's father, José Enrique Menéndez, was born on May 6, 1944 in Havana, Cuba. At age 16, shortly before the start of the Cuban Revolution, he moved to the U.S., where he attended Southern Illinois University, where he met Mary Louise, or Kitty, Anderson. They married in 1963 and moved to New York City, where José earned an accounting degree from Queens College. The couple's first son, Joseph Lyle Menendez, who goes by Lyle, was born on January 10, 1968 in New York. Kitty quit her teaching job after Lyle was born, and the family moved to New Jersey, where Erik was born on November 27, 1970 in Gloucester Township. In New Jersey, the family lived in Hopewell Township, and both brothers attended Princeton Day School. In the summer of 1976, Lyle and Erik's cousin Diane Vander Molen came to stay with them. She claims Lyle confessed to her that he was being sexually abused by his father. Vander Molen told his mother this, but she took her husband's side and said she was lying. Vander Molen recalls that afterward, Kitty put Lyle upstairs, and that was the last she had ever heard anything about it. In the 1980s, José's career took off. After leading operations at the car rental company Hertz, he was the head of RCA Records, signing bands such as Duran Duran, the Eurythmics, and Menudo. The family moved to Los Angeles with a mansion on the same blocks that Michael Jackson and Elton John had lived on. In high school, Erik and Lyle became excellent tennis players, due to their father paying for private coaching, with Lyle being ranked 44th in the country in the under-18 bracket. José was known as a hard-driving father who would work his children to the bone in athletics and everything else. It seemed like José was so competitive. He was doing everything he could to try to make Erik better. Their former swim team coach told the Los Angeles Times in 1990, but he was so completely overbearing. It had the opposite effect. Erik had so much less self-confidence because everything he did was never good enough. The intense peer pressure got to Erik as he and some of his friends would take part in a string of burglaries in 1988, but he avoided jail time and was ordered to go to therapy. Lyle enrolled at Princeton University, although he had very average grades, and his acceptance might have been aided by his father's $50,000 donation to the university. On August 18, 1989, Erik and Lyle Menendez purchased shotguns at a Big Five sporting goods chain store in San Diego, over 100 miles away from their family's mansion in Beverly Hills. On August 19th, their family chartered a yacht and took them shark fishing. On August 20th, José and Kitty were standing in the den of their Beverly Hills mansion when Lyle and Erik entered the den carrying the shotguns they had bought 2 days earlier, and they both opened fire. José was shot 6 times, including the fatal shot to the back of the head. Kitty was shot 10 times in total. Before the fatal shot to her cheek, she was on the ground, slowly crawling and moaning. Lyle then ran to his car to grab more shells, then fired the fatal shot to her face. The brothers drove to a movie theater and then bought tickets for Batman. They tossed the guns and changed into clean clothes before driving back to their house and pretending to discover the scene all over again. Lyle then called 911.
Emergency? Yes, police.
What's the problem? What's the problem? What's the problem?
Someone killed my parents.
Pardon me?
Someone killed my parents.
What? Who? Are they still there?
Yes.
The people...
No.
Were they shot?
Hey, man, too.
Were they shot?
Yes.
They were shot?
Yes.
102 response, 722 North Elmore.
What happened? Hey, stay there, man.
I have a hysterical person on. We're trying to get screened further. Other units responding. Is the person still there?
What happened? We have units around. What happened? Who shot who?
I don't hear anything. I just came home.
You came home and found who shot?
My mom and dad. You know if they're still in the house, the people that did the shooting.
Get away from them.
Okay, hang on. Let me talk to Erik. Who is the person that was shot?
My mom and my dad.
Your mom and dad?
My mom and my dad.
Okay, hold on a second. Okay, we're on our way over there with the ambulance.
Okay, I gotta go.
Okay.
Oh.
Hello, this is police department.
Yes.
Okay, I want you to come outside. Okay, just come out the front door and
I never my brother.
In the months after the killings, the brothers began to spend extravagantly on luxury items, business, and travel. On August 24th, 1989, the day before his parents' funeral, Lyle dropped over $15,000 on 3 Rolex watches. The brothers moved out of the family mansion and stayed in a series of expensive hotels before finally leasing condos on the water in Marina del Rey. Their adjacent apartments had ample room for parties and movie nights with friends. Erik bought a Rolex too, and clothes, and lost thousands of dollars gambling. He decided to forego attending UCLA and instead hired a tennis coach for $60,000 a year in hopes of going pro. He practiced up to 10 hours a day and flew to the Middle East to compete. Meanwhile, Lyle returned to Princeton, but not to attend classes. Instead, he focused on business pursuits and shopping in the New Jersey and New York areas. He hired a team of bodyguards to accompany him on his shopping trips, and later testified to splurging on them as well, which included $40,000 worth of clothes and a $60,000 Porsche. He purchased a popular student restaurant, Chuck Spring Street Cafe, for $550,000 and renamed it Mr. Buffalo's after his spicy wings. He hoped to turn it into a franchise. It was the first business under the umbrella of a company Lyle called Menéndez Investment Enterprises. He hired 2 friends at Princeton to advise him on his investments. Lyle dipped the toe into the music industry by trying, unsuccessfully, to be named the promoter of a rock concert. At one point, they attended a New York Knicks game, which became immortalized when they appeared courtside in the background of a Mark Jackson trading card. They dreamed of athletic success, musical success, financial success, and they were even interested in politics. My brother wants to become president of the U.S., and I want to be a senator and be with the people of Cuba, said Erik. Their now dead father, José, was born in Cuba and fled during the revolution. I'm not going to live my life for my father, but I think his dreams are what I want to achieve. I feel he's in me, pushing me. Jesus Christ. The brothers didn't spend all their 6 months of freedom shopping and spending, though. They also attended therapy sessions with Dr. Jerome Oziel. It was those sessions that would lead to their eventual arrest. The stress of all of this was becoming too much for Erik, so he confessed to his therapist about what he and his brother had done to their parents. Erik said they'd done it to put their mother out of her misery, while Lyle made it clear that they were both complicit. Oziel's mistress, Junelon Smith, went to the police after her and Oziel had gotten into a fight. Lyle Menendez was arrested on March 8, 1990 in Beverly Hills. Erik was playing tennis in Israel and at the time decided to come home voluntarily and was arrested on March 11th. Family members denied the connection between their spending and the murder of their parents, claiming that there were no changes in their spending habits after the killings. Both brothers were held without bond and kept separate from each other. Although they were arrested in 1990, it would be some time before the brothers would have their day in court. The judge ruled that their taped therapy confessions were admissible evidence, but their attorneys appealed this decision, and this dragged on for 2.5 years. They were trying to figure out whether the tapes with the confessions fell under doctor-patient privilege. Both brothers were indicted on December 7th, 1992, and tried separately for murder. The trials began in 1993 with separate juries for each brother, being broadcast on a new cable network called Court TV. The network not only carried the trials, but also endless hours of coverage before and after each day's proceedings. This fueled a national obsession with the case that had all the elements of a great primetime soap opera. The Menéndez trials probably had the effect, maybe good or bad, of demonstrating that even though you don't have a celebrity, if the circumstances were dramatic enough, people will be captivated. Steve Brill, the founder of Court TV, told Rolling Stone in 2017. We had lots of trials like that since, but that was really one that proved that people would be interested in watching big trials. Prosecutors argued that the Menéndez brothers were after their inheritance, as evidenced by their enormous spending after the deaths of their parents. But Lyle and Erik said they killed them in self-defense. They said their father was a perfectionist and doled out emotional abuse. They even alleged that José had molested them for years. Lyle, from the ages of 6 to 8, and Erik from the ages of 6 to 18. A claim filled with graphic descriptions that shocked the nation and split friends and family members. Allegations against their father were supported by 2 family members during their testimonies. The brother's cousin, Andy Cano, said that as a child he was told by Erik about the sexual abuse, which they both described as quote-unquote penis massages. Ugh. Diane Vandermolen, another cousin of the brothers, stated that she had once told Kitty about Jose's molestation of Lyle, although Kitty told her that she was lying. While some of the family members supported the brothers' claims, not all of them held the same opinion. Kitty's older brother, Brian Anderson, stated that the idea that his sister or brother-in-law would abuse either of their sons was utter nonsense. A photograph was presented as physical evidence by the defense, showing Lyle and Erik's genitalia allegedly taken by their father when they were children. The prosecution argued, however, that the killings were done for financial gain. The financial gain theory was disputed by the defense team, claiming that the brothers did not think they were getting any inheritance. Lyle's prosecutor, Pam Bozenich, argued that men could not be raped because they lacked the necessary equipment to be raped. Jesus Christ. Wow. Erik testified that a couple weeks before the night of the murders, he told his brother about the sexual abuse he was experiencing, which led to several confrontations within the family. They claimed that the last confrontation happened inside the house den on August 20th, 1989, a few minutes before Kitty and Jose were killed. The brothers then stated that their father closed the den's door at the time, which was unusual, paranoid and afraid they would be killed by their own parents. Lyle and Erik went outside to load their shotguns. Erik stated, "As I went in the room, I just started firing." Erik's lawyer, Leslie Abramson, argued that the two were acting in self-defense after growing up in such a violent and traumatizing home. The defense also attacked Kitty as a husk of a woman who struggled with alcoholism and drug addiction. The broken wife and useless mother, they said, was devastated by Jose's many affairs. Abramson helped the boys depict a lifetime of gruesome and relentless sexual assaults, starting from childhood and continuing into their teens. According to her defense, the brothers finally banded together in the weeks before the murders to confront Jose and tell them they'd go public with the abuse and destroy his reputation if they didn't stop. They feared his retaliation, the legal teams argued. They feared for their lives. That's why they bought the guns. However, the alleged predator was dead, so this story was hard to corroborate. What you did was, you killed your parents and then began to spend their money, right? Hammered Deputy District Attorney Pamela Bozenich while Lyle was on the stand during his first trial. Well, that's something that happened, Lyle said, but I don't think characterizing it that way is putting it in the right context. Well, why do you need to buy a Rolex watch 4 days after your parents were killed? Bozenich asked. I didn't need to. You wanted to, she said. The first trial lasted 6 months, and both resulted in hung juries who were unable to agree on whether Lyle or Erik were guilty of murder or acting in their own self-defense. It was announced that they would be retried again in 1995. The second trial was less publicized, in part because the judge didn't allow cameras in the courtroom. The judge ruled that there was insufficient evidence that Jose had abused his sons, which was central to the defense's claim that their brothers killed out of fear. Weirdly enough, Judalon Smith testified for the defense during the second trial, insisting that Dr. Ozil had manipulated the brothers into confessing. The effort was futile as both Lyle and Erik were convicted on 2 counts of first-degree murder. They were both sentenced to life without parole, each receiving 2 consecutive life terms that July. Lyle and Erik went to separate prisons until 2018, when they were reunited and allowed to serve their sentences in the same facility in San Diego. They both got married while in prison as well. On July 2nd, 1996, Lyle married Anna Erickson at a ceremony attended by Abramson and his aunt Marta Menéndez and presided over by Judge Nancy Brown. They divorced on April 1st, 2001 after Erickson discovered that Lyle had been writing to other women. Yo, that is insane. On November 2003, Lyle married Rebecca Sneed at a ceremony in a visiting area of Mule Creek State Prison. They had known each other for around a decade before their engagement. On June 12, 1999, Erik married Tammy Ruth Sockerman at Folsom State Prison in a prison waiting room. Tammy later stated, "Our wedding cake was a Twinkie. We improvised. It was a wonderful ceremony until I had to leave. That was a very lonely night." In an October 2005 interview with ABC News, she described her relationship with Erik as something that I've dreamed about for a long time, and it's just something very special that I never thought I would ever have. It always amazes me how these criminals seem to always have women. It just amazes me. In 2005, Tammy self-published a book called They Said We'd Never Make It, My Life with Erik Menendez. But she said that Erik did a lot of editing on the book. In an interview with People magazine, she stated, "Not having sex in my life is difficult, but it's not a problem for me. I have to be emotionally attached, and I'm emotionally attached to Erik. My family doesn't understand. When it starts to get serious, some of them just throw up their hands. I wonder why. Tammy also stated that she and her daughter drive the 150-mile trip every weekend to visit Erik, and her daughter refers to him as her Earth dad. Despite his life sentence, Erik stated, "Tammy is what gets me through. I can't think about the sentence. When I do it with a great sadness and primal fear. I break into a cold sweat. It's so frightening I just haven't come to terms with it." In May 2023, new evidence showed Erik sent a letter to his cousin 8 months before the murders, sharing details of his father's abuse. The petition also says Ray Rosello, who was in the boy band Menudo in the 1980s, says he was raped by José Menendez, who was an executive at RCA Records. The letter from Erik Menéndez to his cousin Andy Cano in December 1988 says, "It's still happening, Andy, and it's worse for me now. He's so overweight and I can't stand to see him," the letter says. "I never know when it's going to happen and it's driving me crazy. Every night I stay up thinking he might come in. I need to put it out of my mind. I know what you said before, but I'm afraid. You just don't know Dad like I do. He's crazy. He's warned me 100 times about telling anyone, especially Lyle. Am I a serious wimpus? I don't know if I'll make it through this. I can handle it, Andy. I need to stop thinking about it." The letter was discovered by José Menendez's younger sister and Andy's mother, Marta Cano, who shared it with journalist Robert Rand in April 2018, who then shared the same letter with Erik Menendez's former appellate counsel, Cliff Gardner, the same month, the court document says. A review of court records shows that the letter was not presented at either of the trials. Why wasn't it? This could have easily cleared you. And it just, you wrote it 8 months before the murders and the letter was not, what? How do you lose something like that? That's my biggest question. How do you lose a letter like that can easily prove that you killed him out of self-defense? How do you not have that? Okay, whatever. Gardner also discovered that last year, as part of a documentary, Rosello said in an interview he was sodomized twice and was forced to give oral sex to José Menendez when he was about 13 or 14 years old, while he was in New York City performing shows. The attorney argued these two pieces of evidence counter prosecutors' narrative that José Menendez was not violent or the type of person that would abuse children. In short, the new evidence not only showed that José Menendez was very much a violent and brutal man who would sexually abuse children, but it strongly suggests that in fact, he was still abusing Erik Menéndez as late as December 1988, just as the defense had argued all along. Attorneys are asking the court to either vacate the conviction or sentence against the two brothers, or permit discovery in an evidentiary hearing which they could provide proof, the document says. That's the story of the Menendez brothers. First of all, I don't believe that they killed in self-defense. Because if you killed in self-defense, why didn't you call the police afterwards? Why did you go and see a movie? If you killed in self-defense, if you were truly scared of what your father was doing, you would have called the police and said, "Oh my God, I just shot my father. He was coming at me." Instead, you wait until the trial. The fact that you spent almost $1 million of your father's money before going to trial does not look good for you. It doesn't. It really doesn't look good for you. I'm not saying that they weren't sexually abused. They might have been. But the thing is, nobody can corroborate that because your father is dead. Nobody can say, he can't say, "Well, I might have abused the boys." He can't, nobody can say that because the father is dead. So I feel like they're guilty of murder because, as he said, they went into the door and closed the doors and then the boys went and got the shotguns and went after them. You went after them. You can't be in fear if you're approaching somebody with a gun. "Oh, I fear for my life even though I went and got a gun and shot him 10 times out of fear. I shot you 10 times with a shotgun out of fear for my life. I shot you in the back of the head with a shotgun out of fear for my life." That means the parents didn't even know that they were going to get killed. They weren't even looking at them. Like, come on, man. But anyway, thank you again for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Thank you for all my support, man. I really appreciate it. But in other words, I'm out. Peace.